Greenwald NDO. This is our regular NDO. On Saturdays, we highlight 1 or 2 products, or we highlight a system. I'm going to introduce you to who I could consider my friend, Dr. Warner. And by the way, when I came into Greenwald, was all fiery. And, you know, it's through association. He's rubbed off some of his goodness, his good parts in me, which is he's a very calm individual. Sometimes I want fire, but he's calm. So, he's highly qualified. When he came to Greenwald, Professor McConney brought him. He did not want to join. 5 minutes after Professor McConney put him on the phone with me, came back and joined. But he didn't do the business because he was very busy with his profession for 2 years. But myself and Ed and a couple other people would take him out of his house at 11 o'clock in the night, like if he's a single man. Thank God his wife is a wonderful person. She's a doctor too. To go and keep him informed. So I kept him informed for 2 years whilst he was working about Greenwald, because he always wanted to know what's going on and what new products would be on the market. So I'm so happy to have you to do this presentation on the respiratory system. Dr. Warner.
Thank you, Clyde, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, Demi, for that inspiring presentation about sanitary pads. Well, today I'm going to just continue with that theme of educating people about the respiratory system. All of you do one thing for sure, that's why you are here. You breathe. If you didn't breathe, you wouldn't be here.
Of course, you'll be under the ground.
Yeah, so if somebody says that person had their last breath, you know what it means. Yeah. Do you know how many times you breathe in a day?
No.
About 25,000, at least 25,000. If you are a healthy person, 25,000. And by the time you're about 70 years old, how many breaths have you? Approximately about 600 million and more. So as you can see, as you breathe in, you breathe out, the muscles are working. The lungs are here in the chest and they are protected by the ribs and the diaphragm, the dome-shaped muscle just below the chest. So breathing is important. As you see through the presentation today, I'm going to teach you some biology 101, and then we shall go from there to see what issues you may face in this environment. So here is some biology for you. If you have forgotten some of those classes that you used to take, here is some simple biology 101. And this is important because this is going to lay the foundation for you to understand the rest of the presentation. If you don't understand this, you may get lost. So I'm going to go through this slowly. This is the nose. That's the nose that really siphons the air, the beautiful air. But I know some of the air that comes in through this is polluted. So that's the nasal cavity, the nose, and the air comes through here. And then this is the pharynx, like the voice box there. But this is where the air starts to go through before it reaches the lungs. So that is a trachea, this part here. And sometimes you breathe through the mouth. So the mouth is also part of the air comes through there. I know some of us, when we are sleeping, we snore and because there's blockage. So the mouth is also part of the respiratory system, but is also used for eating, mostly for eating. Don't you think so?
Yes.
Not for breathing. But okay, so that is the trachea. And the trachea starts to branch over like a tree. This is like a huge trunk. And then it starts to branch over. You see these small, small branches? Those are the bronchioles. Bronchioles. These branches, like a tree, then branches off. So the lungs, which looks like pink here, this whole area, that's the lungs. 1 year ago, a member of Green World asked me, because I was talking about lungs, she asked me, where are the lungs located in the body? In the brain here? Where are the lungs? So I sat back and looked at the person, but it taught me something that not everybody knows where the lungs are. So this is critical. You should know where the lungs are so that you can explain sometimes what is going on in your body, the pain. So the lungs are in your chest.
Yes.
Some people don't know where the lungs are situated, but it's not a laughing matter. It is a serious matter because people are not taught biology. Not everybody goes to school. So, but these are the lungs. And this is the diaphragm, this area here. And the ribs are around there to protect the lungs.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is bronchus. This is the tract, this thing here. And it spreads out into bronchioles, these like tree-like branches. And at the end of each, looks like this, there are air sacs. These are air sacs. So when you breathe in, the air goes to their air sacs and get transported to the blood stream through the capillaries. So this is the air sac. And they are at the end of these bronchioles. And those air sacs are called alveoles. Those are technical terms, but they are just air sacs. That when you breathe in, the oxygen comes in the air sac and then mixes with the blood. When the carbon dioxide that is metabolized is supposed to go out, so it goes through the air sac and supposed to go out through the nose, through the mouth sometimes. So that is the process. It's a basic process that happens to us, but we just take it for granted. We take it for granted because people don't care about whether their lungs are clean or not. They see that they breathe in and out, and they can go about their businesses. But this is not the point. Point is, we have to keep our lungs clean. And today, I'm going to illustrate a few examples. Because of not too much time, I'm just going to show you just a few slides here and there for you to understand. But basically, this is Biology 101 for you. This is it. Once you understand this, then you understand the next slides. So the outline today is the respiratory system, and I'm going to talk about some diseases that attack us. Tuberculosis, known as TB, and also we have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COP, which can be bronchitis, asthma, or emphysema. And these are serious things. They can kill you. So the TB, tuberculosis, is brought on by a mycobacterium. It's a bacteria that attacks the respiratory system. And a lot of people all over the world, especially in sub-Saharan region and places like India, Malaysia, those places, much of what happens there encourages the bacteria which causes TB, tuberculosis, to be rampant. So the World Health Organization tried to make March the 24th as the World TB Day. So I guess they still celebrate this. So these are some of the areas in the world where TB is most common. As you can see, the sub-Saharan region is endemic for this tuberculosis. Lots of people die, millions of people die from this TB. And Brazil is also and a few regions here in a little bit of India and Southeast Asia. So it's important that we understand what all this is about and why it is caused. So basically, it's a Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It's a bacteria that is spread by somebody sneezing, coughing, or spitting, and then the bacteria can travel, you can breathe it in. So through normal breathing, innocent, somebody spits, somebody coughs, somebody breathes, and they are infected. So that is what causes you also to get infected by this bacterium. So the symptoms may be fever, night sweats, cough, fatigue, and so on. And the people who are most at risk are the elderly, the children, people who are HIV. And sometimes genetics can also interfere with this kind of thing. So, a lot of things to consider. How do we present TB, tuberculosis? Of course, the first thing is vaccine. So there is a vaccine that has been manufactured which can cause you to prevent this from happening to you. Also, you have to eat balanced diet. When you eat that balanced diet, you are actually boosting up your immune system, getting the necessary nutrients, which we always encourage you, the nutrients that will help you to fight off some of these bacteria and boost your immune system. So, in Green World, we have products that boost our immune system. And these are the products that will help you to fight off some of the things, TB. So when you have an immune system that is strong, even if you get infected by the TB bacteria, you may be able to live with it, but the immune system will help you to weaken that infection, the bacteria, and you may eventually get rid of it. But if you don't have the immune system that is strong enough, then you may not be able to. You may get the following. When you get tested, you may be able to see that your chest X-ray, there is a lesion. So the test for TB is X-ray. If you are not infected or the infection is not active, you get a normal chest X-ray. But if you get an active bacterium in you, your chest will show a lesion. And that's what happens if you are applying for like immigration to come to Canada. You are bound to get this request from Immigration Canada. You have to go get a test of X-ray, chest X-ray. That chest X-ray is determining whether you are TB infected and it is active or not. So that is why. Because Canada does not want a lot of people to come here when they have the TB bacteria in them. So that is basically what it is there. And we have some products that we can use to fight off TB. We have anti-TB medication. We have a number of them. They are difficult names for me to pronounce, so I leave them at that. Go by Demi's way. I divorced these hard names. No longer, no, I can't. I'm not going to pronounce them. The Aroma Plus capsule, this one we have. So this boosts the immune system and boosts the resistance. So it helps you to heal any TB if you are infected with TB. This Aroma Plus is one of our most important products here. It brings people back from the dead. It helps you to get your liver going. It gets your tumors shrinking. So Aroma Plus is a product that you should have in your home, sharing with your friends. Cordyceps also is important, as you will see. It improves the immunity against that infection. So Cordyceps is also important, one of the most important products here as well. We have it in Green World. Aloe Vera Plus capsule, we may not have it here, but it is in other parts of the world. Green World carries it to other parts of the world because they have TB. So it is here for you to know, just in case you travel to those parts of the world, so you should be able to get yourself out there. Or if you get a friend or you know a friend who is in those areas like in Sub-Sahara, South Africa, Nigeria, and they have TB, you can advise them that this also can work for them. Propolis plus capsule also we don't have, but it's in some parts of the world. So it is here for our knowledge to know that we travel, we always travel, so we can also be able to get people to take some of these supplements. And lastly, we have vitamin C tablet and blueberry juice. Of course, these are all important for TB because they boost up your immune system. The next one, that's TB, mostly in sub-Sahara regions and tropical climates. Now we have asthma. It's everywhere, especially when the weather starts to turn from summer to fall. You have all these things falling and pollen flowers or flying around and cool temperate climate. So asthma is very common. It can be triggered by various things. It can be triggered by exercise, it can be triggered by dust, it can be triggered by just smoke. Hanging around with people who are smoking can trigger an asthmatic attack. And for you who have pets, also, if you visit a friend and the friend has some pet there and you're allergic to some of these furs, you can get an asthmatic attack. So all these things can trigger that kind of thing. What happens when an asthmatic attack takes place in an individual? What happens is that you have a normal airway. This is normal. The air can come in here, you see, it's normal and relaxed. This is the air sacs. That's what I was talking about, air sacs in the lungs. That's why I taught you biology 101 at the beginning, so you can understand. These are air sacs, these are the bronchioles. Now, during an asthmatic attack, this starts to get narrower, and this starts to get inflamed. And so you get something like this. So the airway starts to narrow. But you need to breathe in and to breathe in enough oxygen so that the body can take advantage of the oxygen for combustion, to get energy, to make you move. But if you don't have enough oxygen, the body, the brain will trigger a response from you, why am I not getting enough oxygen to the brain? So that's when you start to have these attacks of asthma. You try to breathe in, but you can't because there is narrowing. This air passage has narrowed during the attack. So that is what happens. The muscles constrict, and so you don't get enough oxygen, and the brain is the one tells you to cough or do all those things that are symptomatic of an asthmatic attack. Then we have chronic bronchitis. It's similar to asthma in that now, see, this is a normal lung, but the airway it should be like this, it's huge. But when you have a bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, this air passage also narrows. And so you are having an inflamed lung and airway, and that is made even worse because you can't take in enough oxygen. There is not enough oxygen for you to be able to take in because of the narrowness of the air passage. Now, what is happening now is that you are faced with a dilemma. You live in this civilized industrial world full of vehicles. Almost everybody has a vehicle, and each vehicle is emitting pollution, and then you are also immersed in an industrial place where you have power plants, stacks of smoke billowing out, and all are exposed to this pollution. You have incinerators, you have dust, you have air conditioning in your place. So all these things affect your breathing. And if you are a person with chronic bronchitis, you don't have enough air passage for you to breathe, and that's what happens. See, you start to gasp for air, and then all that happens. And so that is chronic bronchitis. You are not getting enough. This is normal. This is when you have bronchitis. So the narrow passages of the air makes it hard for you to breathe. So you gasp for air. You need more air, but you can't get it. Emphysema. Emphysema is also one of the deadliest things that we can experience. Emphysema is now when you see people who are carrying oxygen tanks. They need oxygen tanks when they are moving because they have emphysema. Their sacs, these sacs that I told you, the alveoli have collapsed. They don't work anymore. And so when you breathe in, the air sometimes is trapped because these are inflamed, these air sacs I talked to you about that bring in the oxygen, and with the means of the capillaries, the blood is able to take the oxygen to the rest of the body. And the carbon dioxide that is supposed to go out of your body also goes through these. But if these are like this, damaged, that is the why you call it emphysema. That's when the problems come. You are now faced with a dilemma. The air cannot come in easily, the air cannot come out. And now, that's when people start saying his or her last breath is near. People with that problem are very, very, very problematic to the family because we know it's a matter of time. So, emphysema just destroys these alveoli. So air cannot come in, air cannot get out. And this causes the elasticity of the lungs and the air sacs to collapse. So, as you can imagine, if you need oxygen to live, and you cannot get that oxygen easily because of the collapsed air sacs, you can get bubbles of air, and those air bubbles can start to cause you problems, and some of them can burst, and you have a toxic environment in your lungs. Now, in order to alleviate this, people give you an oxygen tank and connect it to the respiratory system so that you can be able to live. I've already talked to you why the air sacs collapse, and so you get damaged lung tissue. And the breathing becomes important because the air sacs have now collapsed. You cannot breathe easily, so you gasp for air. Most of the time, you do nothing. You have to stay still to minimize the effort so that you don't expend more energy and you don't need more oxygen. So most of the time you are stationary, and as you get stationary, other parts of the body become wasted, the muscles get weaker, the bones get weaker, and that is the road to demise. So it's important that we care about our lungs. You all know what is going on in the Amazon. It's a very important, serious case that most of the people don't care. But to me, that is the lungs. Our lungs causes us to breathe the rainforests. So it's important that we care for the forest, we care for the nature that gives us the oxygen. But if we destroy them, then we're in trouble. We end up having these kind of issues. And then we have chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. And the November 20th, 2013 was the day World Chronic Obstruction Pulmonary Disease Day. These COPDs are the number of diseases, and they include, as I said at the beginning, asthma, bronchitis, and emphysema. So it's good for you to understand that although you take it for granted that you are breathing in clean air, but it's not really clean. It's because you can't see it, doesn't mean that's clean. That's why even Shamala told you that the bottled water that you think is pure has some dioxins in it and so on. So even the air that you're breathing in, when you go out, it's not clean. My grandfather, who lived in a village, remote village, never even traveled in a car, but the air that he was breathing in was so pure, and he lived on a farm. He lived to be 114 years old. So it tells me that we need clean air in order to sustain our lives, to live longer. Because of the air that we breathe in, we are constantly being plagued by different things. And the governments, they are money-minded. They also encourage things like smoking, e-cigarettes. All these things cause problems. Instead of abolishing some things like those,
cannabis or Canada.
Electronic cigarettes, because they don't want nicotine, but e-cigarettes also cause lots of problems to us. But the governments don't tell you, they tell you lies, and then they introduce things, marijuana, all these things, really to confuse you, so that you can give your hard-earned money to the government in terms of taxes and health, and then you go back to the doctor, and the cycle repeats itself. So be careful. These are some of the symptoms that you have when you have things like emphysema. Some of these symptoms, like this one here, you have seen this. Some people who are heavy smokers, they have club at the end of their fingers is club, and it's different. If you notice, if they are in the chronic stage, in the last stage, their fingers look like these clubs. They don't look normal. So that's one of the symptoms. Well, how do we prevent COPD? Quit smoking, eat healthy diet. And if you have this respiratory system illness, also try when you are sleeping, make the head higher than the rest of the body so that it's easier to breathe in. So those are some of the things you can do to prevent COPD. Now, to end the presentation, here are some of the products that we can use to help us fight some of these respiratory systems. Clear lung tea. Clear lung tea is one of the most underrated teas here in the green world. I hardly see anybody buy clear lung tea because people don't even understand maybe that it's very important for you to have clean lungs. And clear lung tea, I use it on occasionally because I fear I travel a lot on the highway, and all these vehicles in the summer, they're blowing all this air to me. And so I need to clean this pelvic phlegm and cough. So what it does, it activates lymphocytes for you to be able to fight off some of these diseases and pathogens. Aroma Plus capsule, I talked about that.
Yes.
Very important for COPD. Concepts, improving lung meridian, and we have testimonies, people who have used the concepts here. Clyde is one of them. He used concepts. His son had the asthma, so this is important concept. Garlic oil. Garlic is important. It's a natural antibiotic, so it can also help you to fight off and the pulmonary infections. So don't underrate garlic. It has this nasty smell, but it's very important. Natural herb.
Garlic.
Spirulina, of course, spirulina is good for everything because it nourishes your lungs, it nourishes all your organs, gives it the right nutrients. And so your immunity system is boosted up. Thank you for listening.